I received a text from my older brother Derek 3 days before Christmas. The message was blunt. Mom and Dad's Christmas is for successful family members only. No place for losers this year. Don't bother showing up. I stared at my phone in my modest apartment, stunned. For 15 years, I had quietly been the family's financial safety net, paying for my brother's kids' private school tuition, his sister-in-law's medical bills, and countless emergencies. Nobody knew. I had kept it anonymous, through careful planning. Now, they had labeled me the family failure. I sat frozen on my worn couch, reading Derek's text message over and over. Each word felt like a knife. Loser. No place for you. Don't bother. The casual cruelty of it made my chest tight. Let me tell you who I am, since my family seems to have forgotten. My name is Tommy. I am 32 years old. I work as a mid-level accountant at Henderson & Associates, a regional firm in Ohio. I drive a 2013 Honda Civic with 140,000 miles on it. I live in a 700-square-foot apartment in a decent but unremarkable neighborhood. My furniture comes from discount stores. I clip coupons. I pack my lunch every day. To my family, I look like exactly what Derek called me, a loser. My brother Derek owns 3 luxury car dealerships across 2 counties. He drives a brand new Mercedes. His house is 4,000 square feet in an exclusive subdivision with a gate and a guard. His wife Jenny gets her nails done every week and lunches with other wealthy wives. Their 3 kids attend Riverside Academy, the most prestigious private school in the state, where tuition runs $18,000 per child per year. My younger sister Madison married Craig Westwood, a cardiovascular surgeon. They live in another gated community. Madison does not work. She volunteers at charity events and posts pictures of her perfect life on social media. Her 2 daughters wear designer clothes and take horseback riding lessons. Then there is me, Tommy the accountant, Tommy who lives small, Tommy the loser. Except, here is what none of them know. 8 years ago, our grandfather passed away. His name was William, and he was the only person in my family who ever really saw me. Grandpa William had been a quiet man, a machinist who worked for 40 years at the same factory, saved every penny, invested carefully, and built a modest fortune through patience and discipline. When his will was read, everyone was shocked. He left his entire estate to me, $200,000, not split between his 3 grandchildren, just me. The lawyer read Grandpa William's letter aloud. I leave everything to Tommy because he is the only one who understands the value of money and work. He is responsible. He is humble. He will use this wisely. The others have enough, or think they do. Derek was furious. Madison cried. My parents were uncomfortable, but said nothing. I took that $200,000, and I did exactly what Grandpa William would have wanted. I invested it carefully. Index funds, dividend stocks, a small rental property I managed myself. Over 8 years, through careful management and regular contributions from my modest salary, that $200,000 had grown to $623,000. I lived on my accountant's salary. I did not touch the investments, except to use the quarterly dividend income for one purpose, helping my family anonymously. I opened my laptop and pulled up my records. I kept meticulous spreadsheets because that is what accountants do. Derek's 3 children, private school tuition. I had been paying it for 5 years, through an anonymous scholarship fund I created and routed through a small family foundation. Total paid, $90,000. Jenny's cancer treatment 3 years ago. Insurance covered most of it, but the co-pays and experimental medication cost $35,000. The family received an anonymous donation that covered every penny. That was me. Madison's house down payment. She and Craig were short $40,000. A mysterious uncle nobody had heard from in years allegedly sent them a check. There was no uncle. That was me. My parents' roof repair after the storm 2 years ago. $12,000. An insurance error allegedly covered it. No error. That was me. Various emergency loans to Derek over the years, when the dealerships had cash flow problems. Another $30,000, given as loans that were never expected to be repaid, and never were. I scrolled through the numbers. $207,000. Over 8 years, I had quietly given my family more than $200,000. And none of them knew it was me. I had done it because I loved them. Because family helps family. Because Grandpa William taught me that money is a tool to make life better for the people you care about. And now Derek had texted me that I was a loser with no place at Christmas. I sat there in my small apartment, looking around at my modest life that I had chosen deliberately so I could help them. And something inside me broke. Not dramatically, not with tears or shouting, just a quiet crack, like ice on a pond in early spring. I opened my email and began typing. The first email went to Riverside Academy's financial office. I explained that due to unforeseen circumstances, the Harrison Family Scholarship Fund would be dissolved immediately, and no further tuition payments would be made. I was the administrator of the fund. I had the authority. I hit send. The second email went to my lawyer, a sharp woman named Helen Montgomery, who handled the family foundation paperwork. I instructed her to dissolve the foundation and transfer all remaining assets back to my personal accounts. The third email was to my property manager, instructing him to cease any further anonymous payments to any family members. I worked methodically, calmly, cutting every financial thread that connected me to my family's well-being. It took an hour. My hands did not shake. Just as I was finishing, my phone rang. My mother, Carol Bennett, 61 years old, a retired elementary school teacher, a woman who valued peace above all else, even truth. I answered, "Hello, Mom. Tommy, honey." Her voice was tight, artificially bright. I heard about Derek's text message. Madison told me, "Sweetheart, you know how your brother gets." He did not mean it. He was just stressed about the holidays. You know how expensive Christmas is with 3 kids. I said nothing. "Tommy, are you there?" "Honey, just come to Christmas. Do not be so sensitive. It is family. We all say things we do not mean sometimes." "Mom," I said quietly, "did you know about the text before Derek sent it?" Silence. Too long. Well, we had talked about keeping Christmas small this year. Just the successful. Just the immediate family, you know, Derek and Madison and their families, and your father and I thought maybe you would be more comfortable. My mother's voice trailed off as she realized what she had admitted. They had discussed it. All of them. They had sat around, probably at my parents' house, and decided that I, Tommy the loser, should not be invited to Christmas. Derek had just been the one cruel enough to actually send the message. "Mom," I said, my voice still calm, "I will not be coming to Christmas, or to any family event, ever again. Tommy, do not be ridiculous. You are overreacting. This is just." I hung up. Then I blocked her number, along with Derek's, Madison's, and Jenny's. I left only my father's number unblocked, because despite everything, my father Robert had always been kind to me, even if he was too weak to stand up for me. My phone immediately began buzzing with text messages. I watched the notifications pile up without reading them. 37 messages in 15 minutes. I turned off the notifications. I sat in my apartment as evening darkened into night, and I felt something I had not felt in 15 years. Freedom. 2 weeks passed. It was the second week of January. Ohio was buried under 8 inches of snow. I went to work every day at Henderson and Associates. I processed tax documents. I reviewed quarterly reports. I lived my small, quiet life. My phone showed 149 missed calls from various family members. I did not answer any of them. I thought perhaps they would eventually accept my decision and leave me alone. I was wrong. It was 6:15 on a Tuesday morning when someone started pounding on my apartment door. The sound was aggressive, urgent, angry. I was in my bathrobe, halfway through my first cup of coffee. I looked through the peephole and saw Derek. My brother looked terrible. His usually perfect hair was disheveled. His expensive coat was buttoned wrong. His face was red, whether from cold or emotion. I could not tell. He pounded again. "Tommy, I know you are in there. Open the door. We need to talk." I sighed. I should have kept the door closed. But some part of me, the part that had spent 15 years being the family safety net, could not ignore the desperation in his voice. I opened the door. Derek pushed past me into my small living room. He spun around, and I saw real panic in his eyes. "You have to help me. Tommy, you have to fix this." "Good morning to you too, Derek. Would you like some coffee?" "I do not want coffee. Did you cancel the scholarship for my kids?" I walked to my kitchen and poured myself another cup. "I did not cancel any scholarship, Derek. I dissolved a family foundation that I personally funded. It was my money. I chose to stop giving it away." "Your money? What are you talking about?" "That was a church charity scholarship." I turned and looked at him. "There was no church charity, Derek. It was me. I have been paying your children's tuition for 5 years. $18,000 per year. Times 3 kids. Times 5 years. You do the math. You are married to someone who went to college." Derek's face went white. "That is, you are lying." I pulled out my phone, opened my files, and showed him the bank transfer records. I watched his face as he scrolled through the evidence. His expression cycled through disbelief, shock, and then something ugly. Not gratitude, not apology, anger. "Why would you do that? Why would you lie to us?" "I did not lie. I helped anonymously because I did not want you to feel indebted. I thought I was doing something good." "Well, you just ruined everything." Derek's voice rose. "The school sent us a letter. The scholarship is gone. The spring semester tuition is due in 2 weeks. $27,000, Tommy. I do not have it. The dealerships are struggling. I am leveraged to the limit. Jenny is freaking out. The kids are going to be expelled." "Then I guess you will need to find a solution," I said calmly. "Maybe enroll them in public school. It is free. The education is perfectly adequate." Derek's face turned purple. "Public school? Are you insane? Do you know what that would do to them? To their futures? To our reputation?" "Your reputation," I said. "Not mine. I am a loser, remember? Losers do not have reputations to protect." Derek stepped toward me, his fists clenched. For a moment, I thought he might actually hit me. Then he seemed to remember himself. He changed tactics, his voice dropping to something meant to sound reasonable. "Tommy, listen. I am sorry about the text. I was stressed. I did not mean it. You know how the holidays make everyone crazy. Come on, man. We are brothers. You cannot let my kids suffer because I said something stupid. I am not letting your kids suffer. You are. You chose to send that text. You chose to uninvite me from Christmas because I was not successful enough for your image. Actions have consequences, Derek. You are being petty. These are your nephews and niece. What kind of uncle are you?" I took a sip of my coffee. "I am the kind of uncle who is apparently a loser with no place at Christmas. Losers cannot afford to help, Derek. You should ask the successful family members." "Oh, wait, that is you. Maybe you should figure it out." Derek's composure shattered. "You selfish piece of garbage. You think you are so smart? You think you are teaching me some lesson? Fine. I will tell everyone what you did. I will tell them you are vindictive and cruel and you are punishing children for something their father said. See how that makes you look. Go ahead, I said. Tell them that the loser will not give you money. I am sure that will go over well. Derek turned toward the door, his hands shaking with rage. He grabbed the handle, then spun back around. His face had changed. He looked calculating now, cruel. You think you are so clever? You want to know something? Dad is sick, Tommy. Really sick. He needs surgery. $60,000 after insurance. Mom was going to ask you after Christmas. But now you have turned into a selfish bastard. So I guess Dad is just screwed, right? I froze. My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. What are you talking about? Derek saw my reaction and smiled. It was not a nice smile. Oh, now you care? Yeah, Dad has a heart condition. Needs valve replacement surgery within 3 months. Or the doctors say he has a 70% chance of heart failure. But hey, you are too busy being petty, so whatever. Enjoy your principles. While Dad dies. He walked out and slammed the door. I stood in my kitchen, the coffee cup trembling in my hand. My father, Robert Bennett, 63 years old. Heart surgery. $60,000. I set down the cup before I dropped it. I walked to my couch and sat down heavily. Derek had found my pressure point. He knew it. I saw it in his eyes before he left. My father was the one member of my family who had never demanded anything from me, who had always treated me with quiet respect, who had worked hard his whole life and asked for nothing. If I helped, my family would never respect me. They would know I could be manipulated. They would keep using me forever. But if I did not help, my father might die, and I would never forgive myself. I put my head in my hands and tried to think. I did not sleep for 3 nights. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. Every option felt like betrayal. Betray myself or betray my father. There was no middle ground. On the 4th day, I called my mother. I asked to meet my parents at a diner on neutral ground. I chose the Bluebird, a small family restaurant where my grandfather used to take me for pancakes when I was a child. They arrived at 2 in the afternoon. The lunch rush was over. The place was nearly empty. My father looked older than I remembered. His hair had gone completely gray. His face was pale and tired. He moved slowly as he slid into the booth across from me. My mother sat beside him, her hands clutched in her lap, her face tense. "Hi, Dad," I said quietly. "Tommy." His voice was warm, genuine. "It is good to see you, son." We ordered coffee. Nobody wanted food. When the waitress left, I looked directly at my father. "Derek told me about your heart. Is it true?" My father glanced at my mother, then nodded. "It is true. I did not want to burden you with it, Tommy. You have your own life. Tell me exactly what is happening," my father explained. 6 months ago, he started having chest pains and shortness of breath. Tests revealed severe aortic stenosis. His heart valve was failing. Without surgery, his heart would give out within months. The surgery was scheduled for early February. Insurance would cover most of it, but their portion was $60,000. They had been saving and had $18,000. They needed another $42,000. "We will figure it out," my father said quietly. "We can take a loan against the house. Sell some things. Your mother and I will manage." I looked at my mother. She said nothing, but her eyes were pleading. I took a breath. "I will pay for it. All of it. The full $60,000. My mother's face lit up like sunrise. "Oh, Tommy, thank you, sweetheart. I knew you would." "I have conditions," I said. My mother's smile faltered. My father looked sad, but nodded. "Fair enough, son. What do you need?" I had spent 3 nights thinking about this. I had written it down. I pulled out a folded piece of paper. 3 conditions. 1. Derek must publicly apologize at the next family gathering for calling me a loser and uninviting me from Christmas. A real apology, not an excuse. 2. The family must acknowledge that I paid for the surgery. No pretending it came from somewhere else. No anonymous donations. Everyone knows it was me. 3. No one in the family asks me for money ever again. Not a loan. Not a gift. Not an emergency fund. This is the last time. My mother opened her mouth to protest, but my father put his hand on hers. Those are fair terms, Tommy. I accept them. Carol? My mother hesitated, then nodded quickly. Of course, honey. Whatever you want. We just want your father healthy. I will have my lawyer draft a contract. You will both sign it. This is not a verbal agreement. My father's face showed a flash of hurt, but he nodded. I understand, son. You need to protect yourself. I do not blame you. We finished our coffee in awkward silence. When we left, my father hugged me. He whispered in my ear, I am proud of you, Tommy. I know I have not said it enough, but I am. I drove home feeling hollow. I had done the right thing, but it felt like losing. The next morning, I went to my bank to arrange the transfer. I walked into the branch, requested to speak with my account manager, a pleasant woman named Diane, who had helped me set up my investment accounts years ago. Tommy, good to see you, she said, smiling. Then her smile faded. Actually, I am glad you came in. We need to talk. There was an incident with your account yesterday. My stomach dropped. What kind of incident? Diane led me to a private office and closed the door. Someone attempted to access your investment account online using your personal information. They had your social security number, your mother's maiden name, and your childhood address. Did they get in? No. Our security system flagged it as suspicious because the IP address did not match any of your previous logins. We blocked the attempt and locked the account. That is why we tried calling you yesterday, but it went to voicemail. Where did the attempt come from? Diane typed on her computer. The IP address traces to a residential address in. She paused. Riverside Estates. Subdivision. Does that mean anything to you? My brother's neighborhood. My brother's house. I felt cold rage spread through my chest. Derek had not just asked me for money. He had tried to steal it. He had tried to hack into my account and take what he wanted because I had refused him. What do I need to do? I asked. We have preserved all the evidence. The attempt included several failed password attempts and security question answers. Technically, this is attempted identity theft and unauthorized access to a financial account. You could file a police report. Given the amount in the account, this would likely be classified as a felony. A felony. My brother could go to prison for 10 years. Give me copies of everything, I said. I need to think about this. Diane printed out the reports and gave me a thick folder. I drove home in a daze. I sat in my apartment with the evidence spread on my kitchen table. The timestamps showed Derek had tried to access my account at 11:30 at night, probably after Jenny had gone to bed. He had tried 17 different password combinations. He had used family information he thought would work. He had tried to rob me. I called Helen, my lawyer. She came to my apartment within an hour. Helen was 54 years old, a former prosecutor who now handled estate planning and contract law. She had set up Grandpa William's trust and helped me establish the family foundation years ago. She reviewed the evidence carefully. Then she looked up at me, her face serious. Tommy, this is bad. Not for you. For Derek. This is felony attempted identity theft, felony attempted unauthorized access to a computer system, and potentially felony attempted theft, given the amount involved. If you file a police report, and the prosecutor decides to pursue it, Derek could be looking at 5 to 10 years in prison. I know, but here is the other problem. If you do not report it, And Derek is desperate enough to try this once. He might try again. He might get smarter about it. And if your family finds out you have evidence of this and did not report it, they will accuse you of holding it over Derek's head. So either I send my brother to prison, or I let him try to rob me again. Essentially, yes. Helen leaned back in her chair. There is a third option. You confront him with the evidence. You make it clear that you have this information, and you will use it if he comes after you again. You use it as leverage to ensure he leaves you alone. That feels like blackmail. It is not blackmail if you are not demanding anything from him. It is just protecting yourself. You are saying, "Leave me alone, or I will report a crime you actually committed." That is self-defense, not extortion. I looked at the evidence again. My brother's desperation documented in login attempts and failed security questions. "I need time to think," I said. "You have time. But Tommy, you cannot let this go completely." Derek crossed a serious line here. You need to protect yourself. After Helen left, I sat alone in my apartment. I had agreed to pay for my father's surgery. That was happening. But Derek's attempted theft had changed everything. My family was not just entitled and ungrateful. They were actively trying to steal from me. I did not file the police report that day, but I kept the evidence. I had a feeling I was going to need it. I decided not to file the police report immediately. I wanted leverage, not revenge. At least, that is what I told myself. I had Helen draft a contract for my father's surgery payment. It was 3 pages long, written in clear language, not legal jargon. It stated that I, Tommy Bennett, was making a one-time gift of $60,000 for Robert Bennett's heart valve surgery. It specified that this was not a loan. It listed my 3 conditions explicitly. It included a clause stating that if any family member made further financial demands or attempts to access my accounts, this agreement would be void, and I would pursue legal action. My parents came to Helen's office to sign it. My mother read it quickly and signed without comment. My father read it slowly, his face sad, but he signed too. He looked at me afterward and said, "I am sorry it has come to this, son. But I understand." I transferred the $60,000 that afternoon. The surgery was scheduled for 3 weeks out. I thought maybe this would end it. I had set clear boundaries. I had protected myself legally. I could move forward. I should have known better. 4 days after I paid for the surgery, Madison called. I had not unblocked her number, but she called from a number I did not recognize. I answered before I realized who it was. "Tommy, thank God." Her voice was choked with tears. "I have been trying to reach you for weeks. Please do not hang up." I almost did. But something in her voice stopped me. This was not manipulation. This was real distress. "What do you want, Madison?" "I need help. Craig is leaving me. He found out about. I made a mistake 2 years ago. An affair. He found out. Tommy, he is destroying me. The prenup is ironclad. I get almost nothing. I am going to lose the house. Everything. I have 2 little girls. I do not know what to do." I closed my eyes. "Why are you calling me?" "Because you are my brother. Because I have nowhere else to go." "Tommy, I know I was wrong about Christmas. I know I should have stood up for you. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Please, I need a place to stay. Just for a few months while I figure things out. You have that second bedroom, please." "You called me a loser, Madison. You agreed with Derek." "I know. I was wrong. I was trying to fit in with them, trying to be part of the successful crowd, and I forgot who I was. I forgot that you are the only one who ever really helped anyone without asking for anything back." She was sobbing now. "Please, Tommy. The girls need stability. I do not have anywhere else." I felt the trap closing again. If I said no, I was heartless. If I said yes, I lost my peace and my space. and Madison would take advantage, just like Derek had. Madison. Suddenly, I heard shouting in the background. A man's voice, angry and loud. Then the phone was grabbed from Madison. Tommy Bennett? The voice was cold, professional, controlled. Craig. Yes, this is Craig Westwood. I know what you have been doing. Madison told me everything about how you have been secretly funding this family for years. Here is what is going to happen. You are going to let Madison stay with you rent-free for 6 months. You are going to give her $20,000 to get back on her feet. And you are not going to argue about it. Excuse me, I am a surgeon. I have lawyers you cannot afford. I have friends in positions you cannot imagine. If you do not help Madison, I am going to make sure everyone knows you have been manipulating this family with money for years. I will paint you as a controlling puppet master. I will contact your employer. I will destroy your reputation. You have 24 hours to agree. Otherwise, I burn your life down. The line went dead. I stood in my living room, holding my phone, feeling like the walls were closing in. I had spent 15 years helping my family anonymously, asking nothing in return. And somehow, I had become the villain in someone else's story. Craig Westwood was rich, powerful, and vindictive. He had the resources to make my life very difficult, even if his threats were mostly bluster. But mostly bluster was not the same as entirely bluster. I did not sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table and researched Craig. What I found was not comforting. 3 lawsuits against former colleagues, 2 against neighbors, 1 against a contractor. Craig had a pattern of using the legal system to punish anyone who crossed him. He won most of his cases simply because he could afford to keep filing motions and appeals until the other side ran out of money. I called Helen at 7 in the morning. She listened to everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Tommy, you are in a bad spot. Craig cannot really prove you were manipulating anyone. Helping family anonymously is generous, not controlling. But he can make noise. He can file nuisance suits. He can spread rumors. It will cost you money and peace of mind to fight him. And Derek's hack attempt is solid evidence of a crime. But if you use it now, Craig will spin it as you being vindictive. He will say you are punishing your whole family because of a divorce you had nothing to do with. So what do? You give a little but not a lot. Let Madison stay with you temporarily, but not 6 months. 2 months, maximum. Put it in writing. Make her pay utilities. Absolutely refuse the $20,000. Let Craig make his threats real. If he actually files something, we fight it. But my guess is he is bluffing. Powerful people threaten all the time. They follow through rarely. I took Helen's advice. I texted Craig from a new number. Madison can stay for 2 months. Written agreement required. No money. Non-negotiable. Craig's response was immediate. Big mistake. You will regret this. 3 days later, I found out what he meant. An email circulated at Henderson and Associates. It was sent anonymously to the entire office, about 60 people. The subject line was, "Concerns about employee, financial ethics." The email was carefully worded to avoid direct accusations. It raised questions about my financial arrangements with family members. It suggested there might be undisclosed conflicts of interest or ethical issues with how I managed money. It mentioned large anonymous transfers and asked whether the firm was aware of my outside financial activities. It was vague enough to avoid defamation, but specific enough to raise eyebrows. My boss, Patricia Moreland, called me into her office within an hour. Patricia was 52 years old, a senior partner, and generally fair-minded. She looked uncomfortable. "Tommy, I received a concerning email this morning. So did everyone else in the office. I need to ask you some questions, and I need you to be completely honest with me." I explained everything. The inheritance from Grandpa William. The anonymous help to my family. The recent conflicts. The text message about Christmas. My decision to stop funding my family and the fallout from that decision. Patricia listened carefully. When I finished, she sighed. Tommy, I believe you. This sounds like a family conflict that someone is trying to weaponize against you professionally. But here's my problem. Corporate is going to hear about this email. They are going to have questions. Even if everything you did was legal and ethical, and I believe it was, it looks complicated. In today's environment, anything that even appears questionable makes people nervous. What are you saying? I am putting you on administrative leave. 2 weeks, paid. We will conduct a review. If everything checks out, which I expect it will, you will come back. But I need to show corporate that we took this seriously. I walked out of Patricia's office in a daze. 2 weeks of administrative leave. It sounded minor, but everyone in the office would know. They would wonder. Some would assume I had done something wrong. My career, the one stable thing in my life, was now tainted because I had tried to help my family. I drove home and sat in my apartment as the afternoon light faded. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from coworkers asking if I was okay, if it was true, what had happened. I did not answer any of them. That evening, I got a text from my father. Family meeting tomorrow night at the house. We need to talk about everything. Please come. I almost ignored it. Then something made me respond. What time? 7. I arrived at my parents' house at 7 the next evening. I had not been there since before Christmas. The driveway was full of cars. Derek's Mercedes, Madison's BMW, Jenny's Lexus. I walked in without knocking. They were all in the living room. Derek and Jenny on the couch. Madison in the armchair, looking tired and red-eyed. My parents sitting together across from them. Everyone turned to look at me when I entered. Derek stood up. His face was hard. Angry. Righteous. We need to talk about your attitude, Tommy. You are tearing this family apart with your conditions and your coldness. Dad's surgery is coming up in 1 week, and you are making everything about you. We have decided you need to apologize to all of us. Drop your stupid conditions and be a real brother again, or we are cutting you out permanently. The others nodded. Madison looked away but did not disagree. Jenny stared at me with open hostility. My mother wrung her hands but said nothing. My father looked at his lap. I stood in the doorway of my childhood home, looking at my family, and I felt something break inside me that I did not think could break anymore. Let me understand this, I said quietly. You held a family meeting to ambush me. To demand? I apologize for setting boundaries after being called a loser and uninvited from Christmas. To demand I continue funding your lives with no acknowledgement or gratitude. And you are threatening to cut me out if I do not comply. Madison spoke up, her voice defensive. Tommy, you do not understand. Craig told me about what you have been doing, controlling us with money. That is not healthy. That is manipulation. I helped you anonymously for 15 years. How is that control? You made us dependent on you without telling us. Derek shouted. That is messed up, Tommy. I looked at my father. He was staring at his hands, saying nothing. Not defending me. Not standing up for me. Too weak. Or too tired. Or too scared of conflict. I walked to the door, then turned back. The surgery is paid for, Dad. I keep my promises. But after that, I am done with all of you. Forever. I walked out. Behind me, I heard shouting. My mother calling my name. Derek yelling something about how I would regret this. I got in my car and drove away. My phone exploded with angry texts. I blocked every number except my father's. I went home to my small apartment, the place I had chosen deliberately to live below my means so I could help my family, and I felt nothing but relief. I was done. My administrative leave ended 2 weeks later, with a mixed result. The corporate review cleared me of any wrongdoing. They found no ethical violations, no conflicts of interest, no misuse of company resources. Everything I had done was legal and personal. But Patricia called me into her office with bad news. "Tommy, you are cleared. Officially, completely cleared. But corporate has suggested that you consider transferring to a different branch. They think it would be best to avoid any appearance of ongoing issues." I am being punished for being innocent. Patricia looked pained. "It is not a punishment. It is a precaution. The Cleveland branch has an opening for a senior accountant. It is actually a slight promotion. Better pay. But it is 3 hours away. So I have to uproot my life because someone sent a malicious email. You do not have to do anything. But if you stay here, there will always be whispers. People have long memories. A fresh start might be good for you." I took the transfer. I agreed to start in Cleveland in 6 weeks. I would move, start over, leave everything behind. My father's surgery was scheduled for the following Tuesday. I did not tell anyone in the family about the transfer. What was the point? The surgery went well. Robert came through it successfully. The doctors said his recovery would take 6 to 8 weeks. But the prognosis was excellent. I visited him once in the hospital, alone, at 5 in the morning before anyone else would be there. He was groggy from medication but awake. "Tommy," he whispered. "You came." "Of course, Dad. I am sorry, son." His eyes filled with tears. "I should have stood up for you at the house. I was scared and weak. I do not blame you for leaving." I held his hand. It felt thin and fragile. "I forgive you, Dad. But I cannot keep doing this. I know. I understand. I am proud of you for standing up for yourself. I should have taught you that earlier." We sat in silence for a while. Then I kissed his forehead and left. It was the most honest conversation we had ever had, and probably the last meaningful one we would ever have. 2 weeks later, I was packing boxes in my apartment, getting ready for the move to Cleveland, when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Derek. He looked terrible. His clothes were wrinkled. His face was unshaven. His eyes were red. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. Derek did not push past me this time. He stood in the hallway, and I saw something I had never seen before. My brother was broken. "Tommy," he said. His voice cracked. "Please. I need to talk to you." I stood in the doorway, not inviting him in. The dealership is failing. The bank is foreclosing. I am losing everything. Jenny is threatening to leave me and take the kids. They are switching to public school next month, and the kids are devastated. I have nowhere else to turn. "You tried to hack my bank account, Derek." He flinched. I was desperate. I was not thinking. "I am sorry. You held a family meeting to ambush me." I was angry. I was scared. "Tommy, please. I am begging you. I need $50,000 to save the business. Just $50,000. I will pay you back. I swear. I will sign anything you want. Please. I am your brother." I looked at Derek. I remembered him as a kid, teaching me to ride a bike. I remembered him at my high school graduation, proud. I remembered 1,000 small kindnesses before money and success turned him into this desperate, entitled, cruel person. I felt a flicker of pity. Then I remembered the text message. No place for losers. I remembered the hack attempt. I remembered the ambush meeting. I remembered 15 years of anonymous help met with contempt. "No," I said. Derek's face transformed from desperation to pure rage. "You are going to regret this. You think you can just walk away? I will make you pay, Tommy. I will destroy you." He turned and ran down the stairs. I heard his car start and peel out of the parking lot. I closed the door and went back to packing. The next morning, 2 police officers knocked on my door. They were polite but serious. A detective named Ramirez, about 45 years old, with tired eyes, and a younger officer named Chen, Tommy Bennett. Yes, we need you to come down to the station to answer some questions regarding a financial fraud investigation. My stomach dropped. What investigation? Your brother Derek Bennett filed a report claiming you embezzled money from a joint family investment fund. We need your statement. I sat in an interview room at the police station for 3 hours. Detective Ramirez was smart and thorough. Derek had fabricated documents, supposedly showing a joint investment account that I had stolen from. The documents were obvious forgeries, but they required investigation. I provided my lawyer Helen's contact information. I showed them my actual financial records. I remained calm and cooperative. Ramirez saw through Derek's story pretty quickly. The forged documents had inconsistencies. The supposed joint account had no real bank records. My financial history was clean and well documented. Mr. Bennett, Ramirez said finally, I do not think you did anything wrong here. These documents your brother filed are clearly fabricated. But I need to warn you, even if we drop this quickly, and I think we will, your brother can keep filing complaints. He can keep dragging you through the system. You might want to consider filing charges against him for making a false report, or at least getting a restraining order. Can I ask you something, Detective? Sure. What would happen if I had evidence that my brother attempted to hack my bank account 2 months ago? Would that be relevant? Ramirez leaned forward. That would be very relevant. Do you have such evidence? I called Helen. She arrived with the folder from my bank within an hour. Ramirez reviewed the evidence carefully. His expression darkened. Mr. Bennett, this is felony attempted identity theft and unauthorized computer access. This is serious, combined with this false report he just filed. Your brother is looking at significant legal trouble. What are my options? You can file charges for the hack attempt. You can sue him in civil court for defamation for this false report. You can get a restraining order. Or you can do nothing and hope he stops. I sat in that interview room, looking at the evidence of my brother's crimes. And I realized I was at a breaking point. I could either destroy Derek legally, or Derek would keep trying to destroy me through attrition. There was no middle ground left. I made my choice. I filed a police report about Derek's hack attempt. I provided all the bank's evidence. Detective Ramirez was impressed by the documentation. This is one of the most clear-cut cases I have seen, he said. The bank's security logs are detailed. The IP address is definitive. The failed password attempts and security question answers show clear intent. We can arrest him today if you want to proceed. Proceed, I said. Derek was arrested at his dealership at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. The charges: felony attempted identity theft and felony unauthorized access to a computer system. Bail was set at $20,000. Derek could not afford it. He sat in county jail for 3 days, while Jenny scrambled to get the bail money. She finally managed it by selling her jewelry and borrowing from her parents. The moment Derek was released, I filed a civil lawsuit against him for defamation and harassment based on the false police report. Helen was enthusiastic. This is the easiest case I have ever filed, she said. We have everything documented. We will win damages, probably $30,000 to $40,000. I also filed for restraining orders against Derek, Madison, and Jenny. The judge granted them immediately based on the harassment pattern and the criminal charges. Derek was not allowed within 500 feet of me. Then I did something that felt cruel, but necessary. I contacted Riverside Academy, the private school Derek's kids had been attending. I provided documentation that Derek had been fraudulently representing his financial situation to the school while I was covering costs anonymously. I showed them that Derek had claimed financial hardship to qualify for various programs while living in a luxury house and driving luxury cars. The school was furious. Not only did they expel Derek's 3 children immediately, But they also sent Derek a demand letter, asking for repayment of $90,000 in scholarship money. They claimed had been obtained under false pretenses. Was it legally sound? Probably not. But the threat alone was devastating. Within 3 weeks of my decision to fight back, Derek's world collapsed. His criminal case was moving forward. His lawyer advised him to take a plea deal to avoid trial. Derek would plead guilty to attempted unauthorized access. He would get 3 years of probation, community service, and a permanent criminal record. The civil lawsuit was scheduled for mediation. Derek could not afford a good lawyer. He would likely lose and owe me significant money he did not have. His 3 children were expelled from private school and enrolled in the local public school. They were devastated and blamed him. Jenny filed for divorce. She took the kids and moved in with her parents. She was asking for full custody and most of the marital assets. The dealership went bankrupt. Derek lost his business, his reputation, and his income. The bank foreclosed on his house. Derek lost everything. My phone started ringing constantly with family members begging me to stop, to drop the charges, to be merciful. My mother called 10 times a day, sobbing. Madison sent long emails talking about forgiveness and family. I blocked them all, except my father. Robert called me once. His voice was quiet and sad. "Tommy, I understand why you are doing this. Derek made his choices. But I am asking you, as your father, to consider showing mercy. Not for Derek. For his children. They are innocent in this. Dad. Derek tried to steal from me. He filed false charges against me. He threatened to destroy my career. He did all of this after I paid for your surgery. At what point am I allowed to protect myself? You are right. You are absolutely right. I am just asking you to think about it. That is all. I will think about it, I promised. I did think about it. I thought about it for days. But then Madison made a mistake that ended any possibility of mercy. She showed up at my apartment despite the restraining order. She pounded on the door, crying and screaming. "Tommy, you have to stop this. Derek is suicidal. He is talking about killing himself. You are destroying him. How can you live with yourself? You are supposed to be the good one." I called the police. Madison was arrested for violating the restraining order. She spent 1 night in jail before Craig bailed her out, despite their divorce proceedings. That night in jail broke something in Madison. She stopped trying to contact me after that. The family tried one last intervention. My mother called from a number I did not recognize. When I answered, I heard multiple voices in the background. They had me on speakerphone. "Tommy, sweetheart, please." My mother's voice was ragged from crying. "Please stop this. Derek has learned his lesson. He is sorry. We are all sorry. Please be the bigger person. Please show some Christian forgiveness. This is destroying our family." I was so tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being the bad guy for protecting myself. Tired of being expected to sacrifice endlessly while receiving nothing but contempt. "Mom," I said quietly, "I have been the bigger person for 15 years. I gave Derek over $90,000 for his kids' education. I gave him $30,000 in loans he never repaid. I gave Madison $40,000 for a house. I gave you and Dad $12,000 for a roof. I paid $60,000 for Dad's surgery. I did all of this anonymously, asking nothing in return, because I loved you. And what did I get? I got called a loser. I got uninvited from Christmas. Derek tried to rob me. Derek tried to frame me for a crime. Madison violated a restraining order. At what point am I allowed to say enough? Silence. On the other end, "Tommy," my father's voice came on. "You did the right thing, son. I am proud of you for standing up for yourself. I am sorry it took me so long to say it. I love you." I heard my mother gasp, then arguing in the background. The call ended. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by moving boxes, and I felt something unexpected. Peace. 6 months passed. I moved to Cleveland. The accounting firm there, Henderson Cleveland branch, was larger and more professional than the original office. My new boss, a man named Marcus Green, knew nothing about my family drama and judged me only on my work. I thrived. My modest apartment became a modest house. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small yard. I bought it for cash using some of my investment money. No mortgage, no debt. My investments continued to grow. $623,000 became $712,000. I was careful, patient, methodical. Just like Grandpa William taught me. I started dating. Her name was Jenna. She worked in marketing at a tech company downtown. She was 30 years old, funny, kind, and refreshingly drama-free. When I told her about my family situation, she listened without judgment and said, "Good for you for protecting yourself. Family does not mean you have to accept abuse." I realized I had never heard anyone say that before. Derek's legal situation resolved. He took the plea deal. 3 years of probation, 200 hours of community service. A permanent criminal record. His dealerships were liquidated in bankruptcy. He took a job as a sales manager at someone else's dealership, making a fraction of what he used to earn. Jenny divorced him and got primary custody of the kids. Derek saw them every other weekend. The kids adjusted to public school better than Derek expected. They made friends. They joined sports teams. They survived. Derek sent me one letter. Just one. It came to my office somehow. Helen advised me not to read it. But I did anyway. It was not an apology. It was not an attack. It was just sad. He wrote, "I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I destroyed my own life. You were right about everything. I wish I had seen it sooner. I hope you are happy, Tommy. You deserve to be." I kept the letter, but did not respond. Madison's divorce from Craig finalized. She got almost nothing, as predicted. She moved into a small apartment and got a job as an administrative assistant at a law firm. She had to work for the first time in years. Her daughters adjusted. They were tougher than Madison gave them credit for. Madison sent me an email 6 months after everything collapsed. A real apology, not asking for anything, just acknowledging her mistakes and wishing me well. I appreciated it, but still did not respond. My parents struggled with the family's collapse. My mother blamed me for months. She told relatives I had torn the family apart over pride. But my father stood up for me. Robert, recovered from his surgery, and healthier than he had been in years, apparently told my mother, "Tommy did nothing wrong. We took advantage of him for years, and then treated him like garbage. He had every right to walk away. If you cannot see that, then you are blind." It was the first time my father had ever stood up to my mother about anything, according to what I heard later. My father and I started having phone calls, once a month. Brief, honest conversations about life, health, work. He never asked me for anything. He never brought up Derek or Madison unless I asked. He just wanted to know how I was doing. It was the relationship we should have had all along. 1 year after I moved to Cleveland, I got a call from Detective Ramirez. Derek's probation was going well. He had not violated any terms. Ramirez asked if I wanted to consider reducing the restraining order since Derek seemed to have turned his life around. I thought about it for a long time. Then I agreed to modify it. Derek could contact me through written correspondence only, and only if he had something important to say. No phone calls. No in-person contact. Just letters. I never got any letters. 2 years after everything happened, I was sitting in my backyard with Jenna. We were grilling burgers. The sun was setting. My small house felt like a home. Jenna looked at me and asked, "Do you regret how things went with your family?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said. "I regret that it was necessary." I regret that they could not see me as anything but a resource to exploit. But I do not regret protecting myself. For the first time in my adult life, I am living for me. I am building something that is mine. Nobody is taking advantage of me. Nobody is using me. I am just free. You are not a loser, Jenna said, smiling. I laughed. No, I am not. But it took me 15 years to believe that. We ate our burgers and watched the sunset. And I felt something I had not felt in longer than I could remember. Contentment. Here is what I learned through all of this, and what I want you to understand if you are going through something similar. You cannot buy love or respect with money. You cannot sacrifice yourself endlessly for people who do not value you. Family is not an obligation to endure abuse. Family should be built on mutual respect, genuine care, and healthy boundaries. The hardest thing I ever did was walk away from my family. It felt like betrayal. It felt like failure. It felt like I was abandoning people who needed me. But here is the truth. They did not need me. They wanted my money. There is a difference. People who truly love you will respect your boundaries. They will appreciate your help without demanding it. They will treat you with dignity, even when you cannot give them what they want. My family never did any of those things. They took and took and took, and when I finally said no, they tried to destroy me. Walking away was not cruelty. It was survival. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. Protecting yourself is not revenge. It is self-preservation. I am not rich. I am not famous. I am not extraordinary. I am just a man who finally chose himself over people who would never choose me. And you know what? That is enough. I am enough. If you are in a situation where family or friends are using you, manipulating you, taking advantage of your generosity, hear this. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your resources, your peace, or your life. You have the right to say no. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to walk away from people who hurt you. Even if they are family, it will be hard. People will call you selfish. They will say you are cold, or cruel, or unforgiving. They will tell you that family should always come first, but family should not come before your own well-being. Love should not cost you your peace. Loyalty should not require your destruction. I chose myself. I set boundaries. I enforced them. And yes, it destroyed relationships. But those relationships were already broken. I just stopped pretending they were not. Now I have a small house, a good job, a healthy relationship, and peace of mind. I have savings that nobody is stealing. I have a future that I am building for myself. I have a father who finally sees me as a person, rather than a resource. I lost a family that never really valued me, but I gained myself, and that trade was worth it. So if you are struggling with a similar situation, ask yourself this: are you living for yourself, or are you living to be used by others? Are you building your own life, or are you funding someone else's while yours falls apart? You deserve better. You deserve respect. You deserve peace. Sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away from people who refuse to love you back. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it, and I am finally, truly, completely free. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to set boundaries with family members who were taking advantage of you? How did you handle it? Did you walk away, or did you find another solution? What would you have done in my situation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your perspective might help someone else who is going through something similar. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button. It helps more people find these stories and realize they are not alone in their struggles. And if you want to hear more stories about real people dealing with real family drama, betrayal, and finding the strength to stand up for themselves, Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this video with anyone you think might need to hear this message. Sometimes people need permission to protect themselves. And this story might be exactly what someone in your life needs to see. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are in your own journey, you find the courage to choose yourself when you need to. You are worth it. Take care of yourself. Set those boundaries. Protect your peace. And remember, you are not a loser for refusing to be used. You are strong for knowing your worth. Until next time.